Welcome back to Season 3 of the NMMA. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to the stream yesterday. Let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the standings. So to kick off Sim 1, the headline here is that the New Jersey Nets are the best team in the league at a 25-6 record with a 10.9 differential that leads the Eastern Conference. I was among the people who was skeptical of running Dirk at the 3, and it looks like I'm eating crow because he is dominating there, and this team is looking very formidable. I think they've breathed new life into their contention. The Orlando Magic, our reigning champs, are running the same lineup and have the third best differential in the conference. They fall into a 2 seed from their reign of dominance last season. Kind of surprised, but I wouldn't be too worried. The biggest surprise thus far is the Detroit Pistons sitting at the 3 seed. Yes, they're power ranked 15. They must have had a lot of close wins, especially with a just 0.5 differential, but Gord's got to be happy with that performance. The Atlanta Hawks, after drafting Anthony Davis, trading for Eric Gordon, signing David West and Gerald Wallace, this team has gotten deep. This team has gotten good. They are sitting at a 2.7 differential in the 4 seed. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they seem to be underperforming just a little bit after a 61-win season last season and significant progression for James Harden and Jimmy Butler. However, they do have the second best differential in the conference at 9.3, so I wouldn't be too concerned. The New York Knicks are sitting at the 6th seed. They were the 10 or 11 seed partway through the stream, and so they did seem to go on a run to the end things. They do have a negative differential, as you will see as a trend for the rest of the Eastern Conference. The Chicago Bulls are sitting at the 7th seed here. They acquired DeAndre Jordan and kind of shockingly seem to have, I believe, the worst defense in the Eastern Conference, which really does not compute to me, but it may just be a chemistry thing they're working out. The Miami Heat, they have started off at the 8th seed, whereas they, I think, were like the 4 or 5 seed to finish last season. A little bit surprising with Kevin Durant still dominating scoring, but I wouldn't be too concerned either. The Indiana Pacers, they did start off very strong, but their group of role players fell to the 9 seed. Josh Smith is still dominating defensively, though. The Toronto Raptors, after losing Gerald Wallace in free agency, Derrick Rose has progressed to a 98. I think he's like 24 overall, 24 years old now, and they're a 10 seed, so doing a little bit better than they were. Philadelphia 76ers were, I think, a 7 seed, but they fell down to the 11 now. They're playing Brook Lopez at the 4, which I don't know about that, but they traded for both Youngs from Dallas, and they are keeping their pick from being very high lottery. Charlotte Bobcats, they traded 3 firsts for Tim Duncan in the hopes of going on a run to contend, but it's not looking like that's in the cards right now. They are a 12 seed. Washington Wizards are up next. They're the 13 seed. Not a lot to say. They are intentionally tanking and sold off quite a bit of their top guys. Enes Kanter looked like a strong rookie last year. Boston Celtics have not improved from last season. After losing Andre Miller, they're now starting Brevin Baker, who was redshirted during his rookie year last year, so I think he will qualify for Rookie of the Year this year. He's looking pretty good, but otherwise this team just does not really have what it takes. And at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, congrats to RJ. The Milwaukee Bucks are absolute dog water. Evan Fournier getting like 33 minutes per game. Brandon Knight looking good. Patrick Beverley looking as good as always. But 5 wins, that team is going to be in the race for Giannis for sure. Moving over to the West, my Houston Rockets are leading the league in point differential and have the second best record in the league. We added Dwight Howard over the offseason and are looking like the best offense in the league by far. Very modern team. The Vancouver Grizzlies, after maxing Russell Westbrook and Nicholas Batum, they are looking extremely dominant. They are the 3rd power-ranked team in the league, and although, as you can see here, seeds 2 through 7 all have exactly 19 wins. 2 through 10 are separated by like 2 games. It's crazy. The Grizzlies are sitting at the number 2 seed and have the second best differential in the conference, so they should be looking to remain right around there. Another big surprise, the Golden State Warriors starting Bertans at the 5 after a great progression from Klay Thompson. He's in the race for most improved player. They are sitting in the 3 seed with a tied record with the 2 seed of 19 and 10. They only have a 1.3 differential, though, so that may be some fraud stuff. We'll see if Trash can keep it up. Followed by that is the New Look Hornets. After trading away Nene and Pau Gasol for Chris Bosh and Tyson Chandler, this team is clicking. They were the 1 seed for a good chunk of the stream, and it seems that Chris Paul, if he can keep this up and be a top 3 seed, I think he may be in the MVP conversation. Another impressive run is the San Antonio Spurs, starting off in the 5 seed. A lot of good progression across the board, and they are sitting at a +4 differential, very respectable. The Utah Jazz have fallen from the 1 seed, which they held last season, despite some good progression from Paul George and Rodney Stuckey. A little bit disappointing there, but they still are a very balanced team, and I wouldn't be too concerned. It's really their defense at 104 points per game being given up that is not looking too great for them. I don't know why that's an issue. The Phoenix Suns, they were, I think, a 3 seed for a chunk of the stream. It's incredible, but after losing Lamar Odom to free agency and not really adding much else, Larry Sanders has taken a little bit of a leap. Steve Nash is still producing well despite his old age, and Dwayne Wade is doing MVP stuff. So, I mean, that team is looking like they could be in the playoff run. And another big surprise, our best defense in the league now, the Minnesota Timberwolves. No surprise that they're holding that title. They are sitting just inside the playoffs in the Western Conference in the 8 seed. The Denver Nuggets, despite being the 9 seed, they added Serge Ibaka. They're doing a 6-man Greg Oden kind of run with Draymond Green at the 4. Interesting lineup, but they have the 3rd best differential in the league, and so I doubt this 9 seed will stick. I think they'll be in the playoffs. Sacramento Kings have had a good amount of progression. Boogie is having an amazing season, finally scoring over 20 points per game. They added Luol Deng for 2 firsts, and Drew Holiday is looking like he is entering peak form. They are sitting in the 10 seed, but I kind of also suspect that they may supplant the Minnesota Timberwolves and be in the playoff race. Another big surprise with the first negative point differential in the Western Conference. You can see how few teams have negative point differentials in the West compared to the East. The Portland Trailblazers, they added Kyle Lowry. They added Fab Melo. They added Bradley Beal. They should be a lot better than this. I'm not sure why they're struggling so much, but they're a 500 team and sitting comfortably outside of the playoffs at the 11 seed. Dallas Mavericks are heavy in the rebuild after losing Dwight in free agency. They traded away Kyle Lowry for a pretty good Indiana pick. We'll see where that ends up. So they're sitting at the 12 seed. Frankly, they could probably drop even further. We'll see. They just have a very strong defense considering their personnel. Seattle Supersonics are sitting at the 13 seed. They sold Tim Duncan and seem like they're probably going to be selling both Paul Pierce and Manu Ginobili as well. So they could drop even further. And probably the biggest shock of the sim, I had them ranked top 5, as did the 2 other power rankings, I believe. The Lakers are struggling mightily. They are down to a 14 seed at 11 and 19. I don't know what the problem is. This team looks great. Jameer Nelson, Kobe Bryant, Caspi has progressed quite a bit and has become a great 3-point shooter. Pau Gasol is thriving back at the 4 next to Kobe. And Nene really is not that bad. I think that it may just be his rebounding that is creating issues for them. But they are going to look to turn things around. And then finally, the worst team in the league, maybe one of the worst teams we've ever seen in any sim, the Oklahoma City Thunder, led by leading scoring rookie Damian Lillard, are sitting at the 15 seed with just 1 win and a negative 28.9 point differential. Bets on whoever that team is who lost to the Thunder. I will definitely be looking that up later. Okay, next let's take a look at team stats. Oops. Here we go. Okay, first we're going to sort by points per game so we can see the most high-powered offenses in the league. Rockets and Hawks leading the way. It's quite impressive and shows how much having a young athletic team who's very modern-minded pays off with having high-powered offenses in this era. And the fewest points allowed per game. Timberwolves clearly up front. The Nets improving to 91.4 is the second best defense. That is quite impressive. And KG, when he was on the Supersonics, was 2 years in a row leading the best defense in the league. I thought that a lot of that was Duncan, but it seems that just bringing him over to the supersized Nets has paid off huge for them. And for offensive rating, so we can get an idea of who's overperforming and underperforming. Cavs at 109.5, despite not having a top 5 points per game, is impressive. Kind of shows to me that they may turn things around. There's no reason that offense shouldn't be even better. And the best defenses. Nets tied with the Timberwolves. Kings at 3 is impressive. Mavericks kind of blowing me away. This is the 4th best defense in the league. I don't know why they are that good, but here we are. And finally, let's take a look at point differentials. You see Rockets and Nets up top. Cavs ahead of the Magic is quite impressive. They could make a run against the Nets and take over that 1 seed. Another reminder, we have removed the division rule, and so we will no longer have weird situations where someone with a worse record is leading someone else just because they're leading their division. Now let's take a look at league leaders. So you see Steph Curry very impressively has stepped it up and is now leading the league in scoring at 30.4 points per game. Kevin Durant, the scoring leader in the past 2 seasons, is not far behind at 29.9 though. But yeah, Steph Curry's ascendance really shows how bright the future is for the Nuggets. Shout out John Wall moving up to 17. I think this is his first season in the top 20. Trevor Booker from the worst team in the league with 15.7 rebounds per game. I don't know how this is happening. It is crazy stuff. But he could be a trade asset for them. We'll see. Shout out Dwight at number 3, but he has fallen off just a little bit. Part of that may be that I'm minute restricting him down to just 30 minutes per game. Assists per game, Chris Paul is leading the league, unsurprisingly. He is up to 12 assists per game, which I think that he was just hovering right around 10 the past 2 seasons. So clearly the change in personnel and coaching there has made a huge effect. He is also leading the league in steals per game, which is very impressive. Rondo and Wade not far behind. Shout out Ricky Rubio at number 4. Hey, J.D. Wilkins doing great as well, despite that bad event during his draft time. Amari Stoudemire leading the league in blocks per game. DeAndre Jordan not far behind. Dwight's blocks have also fallen off quite a bit. A lot of that may be that we're running a 7 seconds system and that he's minute restricted a little bit. Now let's take a look at 3-point percentage. Gordon Hayward leading the league. Shout out Dirk and Kobe, despite being older, number 2 and 3. Omri Cassipy at 6 is quite good. Big boy Jim Ings. And 3-pointers made per game. Steph Curry and James Harden, the recently ascended young stars, the only players in the league to be over 3 3-pointers made per game. Shows the 3-point revolution may be coming just on time here. Okay, now let's take a look at rookie reports. So the best scoring rookie in the league is unsurprisingly Damian Lillard by a pretty wide margin. Andre Drummond sitting at number 2 is quite impressive. He is getting a great amount of minutes in Minnesota and helping their defense quite a bit. So makes sense that he'd be getting the usage, especially when they lack scorers. But 16.7 points per game, probably more than I was expecting. Andre Drummond leading in rebounds as well. Anthony Davis, 15.6, 8.7. He does have just absolutely insane defense, which is probably going to make him the runaway favorite for Rookie of the Year. I think that's the way that I'm leaning. However, things could happen. Andre Drummond's looking quite good. I'm not sure if he's going to be as definitive as Rookie of the Year as we were assuming coming into the season. Brevin Baker, yeah, so this goes to show he was redshirted last year and did not get any minutes, was probably sent to the G League. But he is leading rookies in assists, and I think he will be eligible for Rookie of the Year. Okay, now let's take a look at picks. This is updated past with the Sim 1 deadline. So all the trades that happened prior to the first Sim. Hawks spent some of their picks on Eric Gordon. Mavs sitting on a good bevy of picks. Pistons with a good armory. Supersonics way up there, especially later in the drafts. Thunder probably have the most firsts of any team, and that makes a lot of sense. That team has got a very flexible future. Timberwolves still with a bunch of picks. Blazers still have a bunch of firsts, as well as the Warriors. Oh boy. Oh man, it's either the Wizards or the Thunder who have the most amount of firsts. Makes sense for tanking teams. Okay, now let's take a look at cap sheets. I'm going to make sure that, yeah, the salary cap is turned off just so there's no confusion. There you go. So as you can see, I'm going to start this by overall. I remember that somebody did ask that. If you guys would prefer for me to resort by highest contracts later, I can do that. I'll remind you once again, please be updating your sheet. There will be delays in the off season if you do not update your sheet. I am no longer going to be the person who is just solely responsible for updating all the sheets as happened last time. We will need to be manually tracking cap space, or there will be delays if people do not fill out their sheets. Okay, so make sure that you're on top of it, or else there will be extra downtime. The salary cap right now, as a reminder, is set to $70.09 million, whereas the hard cap, I think, is around $111.5 million. This will always be posted in the rules channel, and you can also always DM me. Any bugs that you may see with dead cap, that does happen occasionally, just point that out to me in the team chat, and we can make sure that your sheet is updated. One of the benefits of having this hassle where we have to track things manually through the sheet means that we can override any sort of contract bugs that we see here. So sometimes we restructure a contract, then we release the person, and the dead cap should end on a certain year, and yet 2K just thinks that it shouldn't, and that is very obnoxious, but sometimes the case. So let me know if you spot any of those issues, and we can look into it and deal with it. Kings with a good amount of cap. They did trade those two first for Luol Deng, so some of their capital to make trades may be limited, but they can bring in a good contract. So curious to see if they add anything to try to make a playoff push, especially with the rise of Boogie. Yeah, no clue what the Lakers are going to do here. I think nobody was expecting them to be a 14 seed. They definitely are going to have to make some moves in order to turn things around. Or maybe not. Maybe the moves that they already made was what was affecting their chemistry, and they just need more time to click. Time will tell. The Nets' window is pretty firmly established for ending around next year, so they're going all in to try to win the ring after going to the first finals in the NMMA. Ton of cap for the Raptors. They're sitting at the 10 seed, and Derrick Rose signed a 1+1 with a player option next year, so he could decline that player option and enter unrestricted free agency. That would be kind of devastating for the Raptors, although they would have max rights, so we'll see what would happen with that. That's why it's always important, make sure that you make offers to your RFAs. I highly recommend you do that, and don't just say, oh, match if somebody else offers something, because they can do what just happened to the Raptors and kind of screw them over by putting them on a 1+1, and then they re-enter unrestricted free agency before the team's good enough to convince them to resign. And, that's a risk that you run, so always offer your RFAs. Oklahoma City Thunder with a ton of cap. Portland Trailblazers are hard capped. I think they're our only team who's hard capped. And pretty substantially over the hard cap limit. Wizards with a bunch of dead cap because they had to make cuts in order to execute the 76ers trade. Oh, and that is the 76ers. Okay, so let's take a look at player stats now. And we're going to make sure that minutes are visible so we can factor that in for random events. 76ers without a 20-point per game score. Kind of surprising following Swaggy P's incredible playoff run. Another reminder that I want to put out there is that we are doing mid-season rookie events for the first time ever during this season. And what that means is that rookies and sophomores who get over 26 minutes per game will be eligible for a possible boost it could or could not be issued out to the players that are pulled for that. This will happen after Sim 3, and this is just meant to replicate times that players, especially players outside of the lottery, get a good opportunity and end up booming more than people thought that they would. So it's incentive to play your guys and make sure to get a shot with that. Russell Westbrook at 26.5 points per game. He is looking like he has taken a mini leap from last season. Probably a huge reason why they're the 2 seed. Kind of surprised that No Hawk has 20 points per game. They have a lot of great scorers, but I mean, that may be part of it, is that they're just kind of diluting the pool. Kevin Durant just under his third 30-point per game season in a row. We'll see if he brings it up and hits that landmark again. Man, look at Chris Paul. 20.5 points per game, 12.1 assists, league-leading 2 steals per game. Probably could up his three-point shooting a little bit, but other than that, looking like he could be on an MVP season run. Look at Boogeyman, 20, 11.7, 3.5 assists. That's, nothing to shake a stick at. 1.1 steals, 1.4 blocks. Man, he really could be on an all-NBA trajectory. Kings have a good core. Lakers struggling. Kobe is doing Kobe things. Kind of looks like Powell needs to step it up and score a little bit more. Well, I mean, he's scoring okay. Caspi's doing okay as well. I think it's really Nene's rebounding is the biggest deficit that they're facing, but even that I don't think explains a 14 seed. Champ's looking pretty great. Mavericks, Raymond Sessions scoring over 21 points per game. I think the 4th best defense in the league is quite impressive. The league-leading Nets trying to make it back to the finals and finally get Dirk a ring. The Nuggets with Steph Curry just dominating. Draymond Green with 6 assists, 1.3 steals, 1.4 blocks in his rookie season. That's pretty great. I think he is looking like he is going to be headed towards many all-defensive teams. Shout out Cristiano Ronaldo. Maybe he will learn to be a basketball player. I was kind of surprised by the Pistons making that trade for Kemba. I feel like he's a little bit redundant with Conley, and yet here we are. They're sitting in the 3 seed. I'm eating a lot of crow this video. Big boy Rockets finally ready to compete after we got swept by the Sonics in the first round last season. D Wade, 29.3, 6.3, 1.9 steals. How many blocks is he getting as a guard? 0.6, not bad. Almost 53% from the field. Yeah, he's going to be in the MVP race for sure, especially if they make the playoffs. This Sonics team has some really good contributors. Decent scorers, decent assist makers. They have one good rebounder. So, I mean, they could continue selling, or they could even retool. Time will tell. I'm thinking they're going to keep selling, though. LeBron and Kmart entering year 3 of their partnership. Kmart has taken another hit to his scoring, which kind of makes sense with bringing in Kyle Lowry. But man, he was at like 25 points per game season 1, and he's now down to 15. That is quite a drop. Shout out Klay Thompson. 21 points per game after he averaged like 12 last season. He's going to be in the MIP race for sure. And Enes Kanter leading the Wizards. Okay, now let's take a look at contract extensions next. As a reminder, this is entering the new cycle, and so you have 2 contract extensions that you can offer during the season, and then 1 from the offseason, and that excludes any rookie extensions, which only happen in the offseason anyway. So rookie extensions are unlimited. Ron Artest on a minimum is a pretty good deal, considering what he does for the Cavs. Mo Williams, Morrow, Tony Allen, and Johnny Flynn. Bunch of backcourt options for the Heat. Jason Richardson willing to re-sign for the Hornets. That's impressive. Birdman. Richard Jeff on a minimum. Steven Jackson and Monte Ellis. Kobe willing to return for the Lakers. That is huge. A lot of people for the Nets. Dirk, Chauncey Billups, Yao, Quentin Richardson, and Andrew Bogut. Those are very important pieces and good news for the games if he does seek to extend some of them. Hey, AK-47 and Emeka Okafor, the 2 people that the Pacers traded for last season. Prince, Derek Brown, Udry, and Sean Marion. I'm curious if the Suns are going to bring back any of these people. Hey, Rip Hamilton, Ben Gordon, Pierce, and Pachula. Pierce is good that he's willing to re-sign since they're trying to sell him. Kyle Lowry for the Trailblazers. That's great. Rashard Lewis not willing to extend, but who cares? Okay, and let's take a look at upcoming free agents. Oops. Now, these are the people who are going to be available in the offseason, and this includes people who are on team options. It's just assuming that the team is not going to pick up the team option, as well as RFAs. So please take this with a grain of salt. Many of these players are not actually going to be available. Like I saw John Wall. I'll tell you right now, I'm obviously picking up John Wall's team option. I saw, Klay Thompson, same thing there. And any RFA, you could probably expect that the players, that the GM is going to at least match their salary, if not do something else to retain them. We'll go through the 79s overall. Okay. Now let's take a look at the remaining free agents in case anybody wants to make some signings. First, we're just going to sort by overall and go through them. We'll go down to the 70 overall. I lied. We're going to go through 72 overall, and that's it. If you want to sign a real shitter, then you'll have to DM me for more options. And then we're going to sort by age, just so you can see a couple of young guys in case you want to take a swing on any of them. We'll go through 22-year-olds, and then I'm going to scroll over and show the potential rating, which I'm going to give my spiel yet again. Take the potential letter grade with a grain of salt. It is not always accurate. It is rarely accurate. If you go between teams, the different scouts for each team are going to give you different potential letter grades, as people will be scouted differently. So just because you see a high letter grade here does not actually mean they have high potential. There's usually I'd say a letter grade and a half of range per team. But it's still a data point. and make sure to pay attention to all of the other attributes as well. A good attribute profile, especially someone who's like 3 and D, or a very good playmaker and rebounder, like, something that can fit into whatever your needs are of your team, is going to pay off a lot better than just paying attention to the potential letter grade. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Our next deadline is probably going to be set for Monday night because I'm going to be busy on Sunday visiting some friends. So happy trading and happy signing through then. More info to come.